कि संसद के फोरम पर आकर वह क्षमा याचना करें। अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं आपसे अनुरोध करना चाहता हूं।
Rahul Gandhi's critique of the Modi government overseas, and the BJP bounced back resolutely. The jury's out whether the Congress scion has undone the Bharat Jodo gains, the game thrown away around the saffron party's national pride pivot. Bureau Report, India Today.
Has Rahul Gandhi lost some of the equity he'd built during the Bharat Jodo Yatra with his recent comments asking for Europe and the United States to do more in saving democracy in India? The BJP government on the offensive, demanding that Rahul Gandhi apologize. The Congress so far holding firm, saying there is no question of Rahul Gandhi apologizing. But how does this impact the equity that he'd built in the 4,000 kilometers that he walked during the Bharat Jodo Yatra? Joining us on this broadcast, representing the Congress party, its spokesperson Aishwarya Mahadev. Squaring off against Aishwarya with me in the studio is Shehzad Poonawalla. He's come today with a Bodoland Gamcha, he says. We've got Yashwant Deshmukh joining us, lead cephalogist at C Voter. Sanjay Jha is with us, as is Rajat Sethi. I want to start by asking Yashwant Deshmukh first, because he's the one who's got the data and the numbers. He does a daily, weekly tracker, and you saw how during the course of the Bharat Jodo Yatra, relative to base, Rahul Gandhi's popularity went up. After he made these 3 speeches in different places in the United Kingdom, has there been an impact on Rahul Gandhi's ratings? Are they holding firm where they were? Have they started sliding?
He is holding up, and his numbers are inching a bit north, so that should be good news for his strategies, if I may say so. But as always, there is always, on the other hand, kind of a scenario. What the data is also suggesting is that his numbers are going up in the same sphere of the traction, opposition voters traction. It's not the swing vote which are going towards him at this point of time. So he is still on the recovery zone, where he has to match up the 20% vote share that his party has even in the worst of the time, and his numbers have been trailing at 50% of his party's own vote share. So he's around 15% at this point of time, and he is going up ever since the Bharat Yatra began. But my concern at some point of time for his strategist in that way is that it might look like that anti-BJP sentiment vote might are very happy with his statement overseas, but that strategy is not electorally viable. Electorally viable strategy would be when he comes across as a person or says something which is liked by the center of the universe, the large middle of the ground voter, which is called the swing voter, and which is right now in favor of Modi and the BJP.
You make an important point that it's the voter who helped the Congress cross 200 seats in 2009, the voter in the middle who's not pro-Hindutva. He is the voter you need back on your side, Aishwarya Mahadev, in order to win or do well in 2024. Rahul Gandhi's popularity has crept up, given that it had fallen to about half of his party's popularity. He's not even hit his party's total popularity and vote share yet. And therefore, Yashwant Deshmukh's big fear is, given what he said internationally, a lot of the middle swing voter, which the Congress was hoping to attract through that Bharat Jodo Yatra, could potentially still choose to stay away. Are you concerned that some of the equity he built during the Bharat Jodo Yatra could be lost for the middle India voter?
Good evening, Rahul. I think first and foremost, the first news of this speech that happened abroad happened on the 28th of last month, if I'm not wrong. So for everybody in the BJP saying Rahul Gandhi is not relevant, but the fact that we're still talking about it now, that's enough of an answer, one. And the second thing is, whether you talk about it in finite or infinite terms, I was one of the beneficiaries of the Yatra passing through my state and where election going. We saw the manner in which it helped galvanize the cadre, one, which in turn is going to help galvanize also the voter on the ground. Yes, there is a stark difference between the voter of 2009 to the post-2014 voter, Rahul. And I think it lies, and the onus is on political parties as a whole to look and see how they can capture it. And I think Rahul Gandhiji's work and the manner in which he worked and walk, I think, have actually impacted it. And the second, this entire idea of the intervention, how will it affect people here. I think all of us have enough common sense to know that an intervention or even talk of it is ludicrous, in the sense that speaking about it at an international forum is not going to get you to sanction some sort of action in another nation, and nobody is that ridiculous. And in India also, nobody's going to buy into that argument of saying he's anti-India, because all of us know my country is strong enough that any sort of intervention of that sort is, one, not forthcoming, and we are too powerful for that to even happen.
Shehzad
And I think the BJP is distracting from larger issues, whether it is today, where our leaders, when you talk about the threat to democracy, democratically elected parliamentarians were not allowed to walk to an ED office to file a complaint against whom? Not another parliamentarian, but a private business entity. Did you see the way that the lathi charge happened against MPs today? Are you seeing what is happening? That is what we're talking about. They're distracting from the larger issues, and they basically want Mr. Rahul Gandhi to be, the distractionary tactic in this, where they say, oh, he's threatening. Whatever he has said is absolutely relevant to have discussion and dialogue,
Rahul. For this debate, Shehzad Poonawalla, we started by asking the question whether he was losing on newfound equity. Yashwant Deshmukh tells us the data says his graph is still going up. It hasn't come down. It's still less than the Congress's graph. It had crashed, so everything is relative to where you've fallen to. But he's still in the news, and Rahul Gandhi is showing himself as to be the guy who can lead the opposition, or at least coming out as a strong personality given his diminished past recent standing. So this attack, according to Yashwant, hasn't diminished his newfound popularity yet.
Rahul, NASA should do research on Congress party. How to relaunch one failed rocket which does not reach its destination over and over again without reimagination. I think NASA can learn from Rahul Gandhi and Congress party how to relaunch the same failed product. Now let's come to the...
But it will help NASA only if the rocket actually gets launched the next time.
Absolutely, but he's not reaching nowhere, and therefore, this is the longest web series on television, is Rahul kar dega, Rahul se ho paega, but hota nahi hai. Now let me give you a data point on that. I think in elections, more than Yashwant, and as much as I respect Yashwantji's data on this, performance of the beta is more important than data. And what was the first performance where beta had to perform? 3 elections in Northeast, which from where the scarf has come. The 3 elections in Northeast, today Congress is reduced to 8 out of 180 seats. And the BJP, which was never considered to be a traditional party of Northeast because of its high minority population, tribal population, today in Tripura, we had 1.5% vote in 2015, before 2014-2015. Today we have 39% vote. And Congress is at a historic low in Nagaland, historic low in Meghalaya, and historic low in Tripura. This is the reality. Now let me come to the point that I'm making. Today, forget everything else. Rahul, there is one quote I always like to say, Parspar Virode tu vayam panchadik shatam, parayastu vigrehe prapte vayam panchadik shatam, which means that you and I can fight when we are fighting 5 versus 100, Kaurav versus Pandav can take place. But when there is an external force, we are not 5 versus 100, we are 105. Rahul Gandhi on record goes and tells that he's shocked that there is oblivion by Europe and United States.
But he also says in those same speeches that this is an Indian problem. Indians need to
Rahul, let me clarify. This is because I only want to debate on facts. Yes. I don't want to shout. Let me just explain this entire thing. He did not say it in the same speech. India Today has done umpteenth coverages on this. You can check it. I don't lie on television. He said it in Cambridge, I think. And then next day, he clarified that no, this is an internal problem. Point number 1. Point number 2, this is not the first time. I would have been okay if it was the first time. Here is a speech, and I got the India Today report because otherwise they say we don't believe it. Please listen to what he says to Nicholas Burns.
But may I make a comment?
Please. You can talk.
I don't hear anything from the US establishment about what is happening in India.
You want me to play more? Okay,
if you're saying partnership of democracies, I mean, what's your view on what's going on here? I mean, I fundamentally believe that America is a profound idea. The idea of freedom, the way it's encapsulated in your constitution, is a very powerful idea.
Okay. Rahul, just give me 20 seconds to wrap up. First of all, he says America is a profound idea. By the way, they've never had a non-Christian as their president. Leave that alone. But it's a profound idea, and he's demanding their intervention not once, over and over again. You remember Mani Shankar Iyer went to Pakistan, begged for help. George Soros, when he said whatever he said, Praveen Chakravarti officially tweeted about it, and Shashi Tharoor is on record, and here's the tweet of Shashi Tharoor,
No, but you saw
that George Soros is a great
where it was
friend.
said that members of the RSS during the emergency also went to the US and asked for American help in India's affairs. So it's been done in the past, it's not new.
One second. First of all, I have provided specific evidence. Let them prove that with evidence. Secondly, these can't be I provide facts and they provide rhetoric and fiction. Secondly, emergency was imposed, but I am not saying that that happened. Let them provide the proof of that. Let me just make a final point. What I'm trying to say is, in the same speech, Rahul, there are two other things that he said in his Cambridge speech, and I can play that also, but I hope you'll believe me. He said that over and over again, MPs have been arrested and violently detained, and this has happened multiple times outside Parliament. This is the point.
That picture's taken in the Parliament House. And that's where a whole bunch of opposition.
But he's in the opposition. You obviously are going to see him say things which are critical of you.
Talking about certain issues.
Be critical, no problem.
We were just locked up and put in jail. And that's happened.
Can you please tell me, Rahul, I only debate on facts. I don't shout. I don't do any kind of lies. I am asking two specific questions of Aishwarya, my good friend. One, he demanded foreign intervention not once, but over and over again. Two, which were the instances where MPs were violently beaten up and detained and put in lockup? Can she cite the instance to me?
Okay,
he also said mics were switched off. That's not true. You know it. 52 minutes he spoke. But let's not even get into that. Criticize us, abuse Prime Minister, abuse BJP. No problem. You are demanding foreign intervention, and you said MPs were violently detained and locked up. Can you please show me the instances when that happened?
Okay, let Aishwarya respond.
Please.
You know, Rahul, on the instance of MPs being beaten up, I think you also reported about it. And this was not only outside, but also inside the well of the house, where Fulodevi Netam, a female MP of the Congress party, had her hand broken because you saw marshals rushing in over the passing of a bill. One. Second, you saw the manhandling of members of parliament, including Jyotimani and other MPs during Hathras. You saw what they did to Priyanka Gandhi Vadra during protests. And there are several instances of this. And the second is, let's ask one question. If the BJP wants to respond, it should not be by defaming somebody's character who you already deem irrelevant. It should be telling me how you are not undemocratic as a government. Whether it is today your MPs not being allowed to march to the ED, whether it's the fact that your ED in over 4,000 cases has conviction in less than 2% of all the cases. And
Rahul,
no surprise there, look who they go after. And the fact remains, whether it is institutions, whether it is organizations, whether it is debates in parliament, you see the sort of stifling of the democratic voice. One. And Shahzad, you are very intelligent.
Aishwarya,
and
one second. I don't want to interrupt you, Aishwarya, but in the interest of this debate having a direction, I asked you a very specific question with all due respect. Just hear me out for 20 seconds.
I will get
no,
there.
Aishwarya, just 20 seconds, because you've gone on to ED. ED's decisions are not their own. The courts look into it. Like K. Kavita did not get relief. Lalu Prasad has been convicted. Sonia Gandhi did not get relief. Let's not get into that. We'll get into that after a moment. I want to ask you a specific question. I have shown you two factual instances where Rahul Gandhi has demanded US, the great protector of democracy, to intervene in my affairs.
Your audio is not too loud. Rahul, can you
is that not
too clearly?
Okay, I am asking you a specific question. India can manage its own affairs. If you and I have a fight, or you have a fight in your parivar, you don't complain about your father to the neighborhood. Therefore, I'm asking you, how do you as a Congress person feel when Rahul Gandhi, and I've shown you factually, demanded US establishment to intervene in my country? Why do we need, at time of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, 75 years of proud independence, when Britain is now being led by an Indian origin man, why do I need a white man lecturing me about how to run my democratic affairs? I am only on this point. As far as the ED point is concerned, courts are there. If you think we are being vindictive, get an order from the court.
No, but here's the point that Shahzad is making.
Can I reply, Rahul?
Why ask for foreign interference? He's welcome to say what he wants, criticize the government and the Prime Minister as much as he likes, but do so without asking for foreign interference.
For the first idea that when you say there are fights and you don't talk about it outside, I think also there are excerpts, and I really don't want to play an audio clip on your show now, Rahul. I'd rather talk about it. And you know that there's enough proof. A lot of my colleagues have come and played the clip for you also. Is that Prime Minister Modi also has gone outside and spoken and made disparaging remarks about India and how ashamed he was as an Indian. And Shahzad,
did Rahul make a disparaging remark?
On the idea of foreign intervention, the large-scale idea of what the BJP is trying to foist or perpetrate is this idea or this image that we're going to have troops on the ground from the US because you believe democracy is a threat. No. In diplomacy and the way that the world works in a committee of nations, interventions are of various forms. Whether it is remarks of the United States over a particular instance in Godhra or, certain actions about it, you saw that the world community has always commented on things. Whether it is Freedom House basically down-rating us in terms of press freedom, whether it is certain agencies talking about the sort of freedom of press, freedom and human rights in India.
It's a very important thing. Please let me come in. I'm sorry to do this to you.
I think the particular context, and I'm going to clear this, Rahul, and then you can let Shehzad, or if you want to comment on this, is the idea when you're talking about foreign entities like BBC being raided here, when you're talking about stifling of democracy as a whole, the pillars or the beacons of democracy, as they claim in the World Committee, have always commented and always had a response.
Now let me come in, please, Rahul.
The silence is stark, and that is what is, especially surprising is what Mr. Rahul Gandhi is saying. He had no point, and
she'll go on and on. You'll have to intervene.
The BJP basically just has to say, we all know we're not expecting boots on the ground.
Shehzad, quick counter.
Very quick.
I want to go across
Yes, I know others are waiting.
as well.
And Sunfair on that.
Very quickly.
Yes, Aishwarya, please. 1 second now, Aishwarya. Aishwarya, you can't ramble on and obfuscate and filibuster. Please hold your peace. She has made a very important disclosure. Till now, no Congress leader has come on and said this. Because when George Soros made that despicable comment, Jairam Ramesh distanced themselves. She's coming and saying intervention need not be of the military type. Nobody's saying that. But to demand that there should be verbal action or any kind of downgrading of India's status or sanction is itself an act of... Please, now, Rahul, please. Rahul, please, let my position be articulated.
Let him speak.
Rahul, it is absolutely, and Rahul, your show is the most watched show at 8 p.m. If the Congress spokesperson is saying that they actually intended for a foreign body or America to comment negatively about India, which she has just done, is the biggest betrayal of Bharat that they have admitted to. Rahul, I think this is a big admission by a Congress leader that she says that all you're seeking was an intervention of a verbal sort.
While, of course, you're trying to catch on to something she said, but the larger point. The larger point. I want to go across to Rajat and...
Listen, I'm listening to you.
No, one second. Before this becomes a college-style debate where you're trying to pick on a word of your opponent, Sanjay Jha, the fact is that even if the US or Europe were to say something about India, you've already seen how this government and the people at large don't particularly care about what's there in a VDM report or some Freedom House report. It's water off a duck's back. It doesn't matter. Why then did Rahul Gandhi ask for foreign interference? And do you think this has undone some of the good work that he did during the Bharat Jodo Yatra, that he's essentially gone and scored a self-goal?
Rahul, let me tell you that after the success of the Bharat Jodo Yatra, clearly the BJP is rattled by Rahul Gandhi, number one. Point number two, and this is very critical here, and I'm surprised how Aishwarya hasn't actually strongly repudiated the absolutely nonsensical garbage that Rahul Gandhi is being accused of by the BJP. At no point, and I say so because I have known Rahul as a person, and I can tell you even today I'm a supporter of the Congress ideologically. At no point, and the BJP needs to explain this to the people of India. I have communicated this to some of my friends in the Congress, that you should actually take the BJP to town. Where has Rahul Gandhi said that he wants a foreign power to intervene in India diplomatically or in terms of language or in terms of political pressure? Forget military. I think that is the fundamental point. I will tell you the context of that debate. Number one, when the BBC was raided in India by this government, by this autocratic authoritarian government on income tax, it was a conversation piece across the media, across countries, that why do UK and US, which talked about the shared value, democratic traditions, why are they silent? I mean, that is a question that has been talked about by politicians, by think tanks, by media. I think Rahul Gandhi was really reiterating that point, number one. Number two, if anybody is talking about foreign intervention, I want to ask a question of the BJP spokesperson on your program after I'm done. Don't allow him to interrupt me, please, Rahul, because that is his standard playbook. Who said Ab ki baar Trump Sarkar? This is, in my opinion, the most incongruous and bizarre attempt by Mr. Modi's government and Mr. Modi himself to campaign for Donald Trump during an election campaign in the US for the presidential elections. I mean, that was the most embarrassing, if not the most humiliating episode in Indian international diplomacy. Point number three, and this is critical. You know it and I know it, Rahul, the way the disinformation war and social media campaigns are run to try and malign people. I think the Congress needs to right now ask a question of the BJP, and I do so through your program. Have you apologized to the people of India, BJP, for being silent for several years while Mr. Adani's wealth ballooned to such a proportion that it has become a financial scam? Number two, who has yet apologized for the 2002 riots in Gujarat? You guys are rich, hypocritical, and absolutely fraudulent in the way you're trying to
Rajat
drive
Sethi,
India's
this is now
political
becoming a battle of narratives where Rahul did say that the West needs to do more. He's not specifically asked for foreign interference in any military fashion or in any economic fashion. He says, we are fighting our own battle, you need to do more, you aren't doing enough, you're looking the other way while democracy is in danger. But the likes of Sanjay Jha are asking about the occasions where BJP leaders in the past have said things which could be deemed to be interference in foreign affairs, like Ab ki baar Trump Sarkar.
Rahul, let me first clear the air around the success of Bharat Jodo Yatra, which has been touted on your show. And I respect Deshmukh ji for his work, but data without context means nothing. Uganda can be growing in a double digit because it has such a low base effect. It means nothing. Therefore, Rahul Gandhi, if his Bharat Jodo Yatra is adding a few decimal points to the vote share of the Congress, it doesn't swing the needle.
But
and
he
that's
said
the
that.
point.
That's what Yashwant Deshmukh said. He said he was down to 10. Congress's vote share is 20. Is now up at 15. It hasn't declined despite what happened over the past few days on the comments made on foreign soil. So Yashwant Deshmukh was pretty clear about what his data is saying.
Yeah. So no, I was just referring to the Congress sympathizers who were on your show who were touting that this is a success. All I'm saying is that whatever feedback that they are getting is wrong. First of all, any political event which is put out of context and you're not pitted against anybody. It is not a classic zero something, and it's hard to just decipher based on some statistical inference that is coming out from somewhere. Therefore, what I'm trying to say here is that, first of all, they need to introspect that why has Bharat Jodo Yatra, first of all, not created an impact so much so that it is creating a movement in respective states where Rahul Gandhi went. Secondly, when it comes to Rahul Gandhi's adventures out of India, his position as a member of parliament, he went there as a member of parliament, that in itself ab initio contradicts his position around democracy. If he believes that India's democracy lights are out, that's what he said, the Indian democratic lights are out, why has he not resigned as a member of parliament and then go out and do his adventures, intellectual, academic adventures in any university? He should first vacate that chair. Because apparently, this is what he claims, that the lights are out, there is no democracy completely, and there is a fully an electoral autocracy in the state. And then he moves on to say something very sinister. Please understand, he said that democracy is a public good, and it's a global public good. So that it's so much so that India's democracy belongs to the whole world. And he said that in one big area, the lights are out. What are you going to do about it? That's the question that he asked the audience. Who are the individuals sitting in the audience? The intelligentsia of the West, people who are opinion makers. He's apparently asking them to introspect and write about it and create a furor, because apparently this global public good is diminished. What inherently is
Yashwant Deshmukh, you started by saying that so far the data isn't telling you that Rahul's newfound popularity has come down, but the BJP, the likes of Shahzad Poonawalla, upwards, everyone in the BJP now gunning for Rahul Gandhi in a very aggressive fashion, and the BJP has been past masters at building a narrative, or spinning a story, or getting a charge to stick in the public imagination. Could this become a political problem for Rahul Gandhi in the weeks and months to come?
Not at all. In fact, in real politics, Rahul, I am very clear that this is one of those rarest of the rare occasions where both BJP and the Congress, both parties are happy that Rahul Gandhi is doing something. His numbers are gaining. He is getting into the center stage. He is getting into the limelight. BJP and Congress, both are extremely happy. And very crisply, I can tell you why. Because last year in MOTM India Today that we did, the Rahul Gandhi's ratings were in such a meltdown mode that it had gone into a single digit number, around 9 point something, and Arvind Kejriwal has reached up to 7%. And that is where the crisis of an alternative or a vacuum had started hurting not just the Congress but also the BJP in a run-up to the election, where you need an opponent against whom they can go and ask people to vote for rather than.
So Yashwant
asking them
Deshmukh has
staying
a
in
very
factory.
deep political conspiracy. Shehzad, he's saying that the BJP wants to amp up
Not a
Rahul
conspiracy,
Gandhi's
Rahul. It's not a
political
conspiracy. I'm
profile
saying it's
because
real
it suits
politics
you.
at play.
You want
It's real
Modi to
politics at
take
play.
on Rahul. You want to the extent possible this to not to be a nameless, faceless election. You want it to be Modi and Rahul. Therefore, you are putting more fuel in that fire.
राहुल जी, हम तो मानते हैं कि राहुल गांधी एसेट है. वो किसके लिए एसेट है ये जनता तय करती है. वो तो एसेट है, मैं इससे कभी इनकार नहीं करता, और वो स्टार प्रचारक भी है. पर किसके स्टार प्रचारक है मैं इससे कभी इनकार नहीं करता, और जनता भी समझती है. पर मैं एक महत्वपूर्ण बात करता हूँ. हु हैज़ टू टेक हिम सीरियसली? टुडे एनसीपी हैज़ नॉट टेकन हिम सीरियसली. दे वर नॉट विद द मार्च. TMC has not taken him seriously. They are not with the march. BRS is not taking him seriously. So they must first make their allies who are Vaicharik Gadbandhan partners with them to take them seriously. Now secondly, Rahul, I think on your show at least we can speak on facts. I have shown an India Today clip anchored by Chaiti Narula as to how Nicholas Burns...
US is not speaking against what's happening.
Rahul bhai, आपका English तो मुझसे भी अच्छा है.
No, sure.
He has said कि
no, the point that Aishwarya Mahadev is making is, whereas he said let there be direct foreign interference in India's affairs, he hasn't said that. He said speak out against what you think is going wrong with India. He's not expected to go there and give the Prime Minister a certificate of how great he is.
Okay, so this is like saying that Rahul Gandhi said I'll eat food, but he did not say give me food on my plate, and therefore it doesn't mean that I'll eat food. I mean, you're reducing this to semantics. Rahul, forget that. I have shown you the clip where he's asked US establishment to intervene, but I'll show you another thing. Here is Praveen Chakravarti, not a Johnny come lately, a big leader of the Congress, important Rahul Gandhi aide. He has used the speech of Mr. George Soros, which the Congress officially distanced, and has said that Modi may dodge questions about Adani in parliament and etc., but cannot escape from foreign investors like George Soros. Here is the tweet, Baba. Now you please tell me, I'm giving you evidence after evidence where they have demanded foreign direct intervention into India's affairs. My limited point is only this: criticize us, be vocal. You are anyways vocal. The elections come, you win an election, election commission.
No, but that's the problem for Aishwarya Mahadev, because there's an election in your state of Karnataka. At this moment, there's a reasonable chance that the Congress could put up a good fight. If things go well, you could potentially even cross the finishing line. If that happens, then is democracy dead? Will Rahul Gandhi stand up and say, I will not let the Congress rule in Bengaluru because I think democracy is dead? Then why fight this election if democracy is dead?
No,
Exactly.
no, Rahul, the fact of the matter remains today, and I really hope I'm not interrupted, is that for the Congress, if we come to power in Karnataka, it is in spite of all the opposition, in spite of all the pressure on us, in spite of all the inspections, in spite of all the raids on the Congress, that we've come to the finishing point here. Because in Karnataka today, you offer anticipatory bail to a man caught in a corruption scandal that the Supreme Court has now laughed at you and actually taken you up to task, saying, how could you offer a man who the Lokayukta has a lookout notice for, how could you offer him bail? I come from a state today, and the reality is this: we are not diminishing or talking about democracy based on wins and losses. The fact of the matter remains, irrespective of wins and losses, you cannot deny the fact that whether it is the IT and ED, whether it is arrest of journalists, whether it's the fact that you have people
she's once
languishing
again
in jail,
getting away by making a claim which is contemptuous to a court.
No, one second. You know, madam,
You
democracy
said
in
you
India
gave bail.
died
How?
when Indira Gandhi imposed the emergency, when people by the thousands were locked up. That's when democracy was dead. You have as much of a chance as Shehzad's party of winning in Karnataka. If you do, then democracy can't be dead. Both of those can't be true, madam.
Rahul, 1 second. She has just said that you offered... 1 second. Aishwarya, you made a claim. You should back up your claim with facts. 1 second. Rahul, we can't allow...
Madam, this is not democracy on paper. This is democracy at the hustings. You go, you cast your vote. I spent a few days in Karnataka recently. People will go out and decide who wins, who loses. It's not some notional idea of democracy. It's a very real, practical idea of democracy in motion. Unless you don't think you have a chance and you're already setting the context for why you think you may lose.
No, absolutely not. Rahul, I'm extremely convinced that despite everything that the BJP will throw at us, that DK Shivkumar is going to help us along with Siddaramaiah to form government in my state.
Then how can democracy be dead? Then how can democracy be dead? No, 1 second. Then how is democracy dead? If you think you have a chance to win, then how is democracy dead?
1 second. Rahul, what I'm trying to talk to you about is the idea of a free and fair democracy is far more important than the term democracy.
If democracy is not free and fair, you won't have one in Shimla.
You keep questioning me.
I know, but I'm saying either you say you think you're going to lose, and therefore you've set the stage for why.
Despite all the
and then how is democracy not free and fair? Madam, then how is democracy not free and fair?
Rahul, what happened in Assam? What happened to the EVM machines that were found in one of the BJP MLA's cars?
Surely you don't
What
think
happened?
that's why you
declared for
lost.
winner at the end of the
How
day.
did
Did
you
you
win
invalidate
Himachal?
that election? You did not. What happened to the EVMs that basically lost numbering? What happened to so many, even during Rajasthan, you saw a school bus transporting EVMs here and there.
Madam, which government is in power in Rajasthan? Which government is in power in Rajasthan? There may be the odd instance of an EVM malfunctioning or there being a problem in a vehicle in which the EVM is
still
transported.
a black mark on democracy, because if a vote
may I
is
please
presupposed
Yeah,
to
but
be
that
the
doesn't
most
mean it's not a
important
free
thing.
and fair democracy. It doesn't mean that you don't have a chance to win an election. You have as much of a chance as any other party of winning an election.
We have
Rahul,
more
can
of
I
a
come in?
chance
Please
than
come in very
anywhere
quickly.
else, especially in my state, understood, and I'm saying we will win despite the fact that you try and
No,
have
but
a
there's a
democracy.
problem
That
here.
is the point that I'm trying to
Sanjay,
say.
May I please come in
okay,
very quickly,
Shehzad,
very
go on.
quickly. Look, there is no scope for conditional commitment to constitution and democracy. That if I win an election or a case, everything is changasi, and if I lose it, then they are all corrupt and compromised. First of all, on your show, a Watch show, Aishwarya Mahadev says that you secured him an anticipatory bail. She has spoken in such manner about a high court, and they challenged this in Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said no
The
urgent
Lawyers
hearing. One second.
Association
No,
challenged
Aishwarya,
the
this is
High Court.
absolutely
It
unfair.
said, Shehzad,
Aishwarya, please, this is
BJP
absolutely unfair.
head of
Rahul,
the
you must
Lawyers
intervene. I don't want you to
Aishwarya,
disengage yourself.
Aishwarya, you
Let me
spoke
make
for
my
so
point, she
long.
can come in later.
Now let him speak.
Let me tell you,
Don't
Aishwarya
speak my words,
Mahadev.
get your
No,
facts
this is
right.
not right. Rahul, I do not
Make
want to raise my voice
make
on
your
your show.
argument.
This is ridiculous.
Rahul, please
Okay,
ask your
Aishwarya's
PCR
fader goes down.
Yeah.
I can't have people speaking over each other. Let
Rahul,
Shehzad complete.
Let me tell you what is wholesale collapse of democracy. When A.N. Ray is superseded, when H.F. Khanna is superseded by A.N. Ray, when Baharul Islam is sometimes an MP and sometimes a judge, and after retirement is made a Supreme Court judge, when you have people like election commissioners like Naveen Chawla who were complained about by Gopalaswamy, and when emergency is imposed, and forget Rahul Kumar, even Kishore Kumar could not sing his songs, when you ban films and then you subvert every institution of democracy, that is whole-scale capture of institutions, madam. So you should first rid your own institution, the Congress party, of this whole-scale capture by a family, and then come and lecture us. And I am only having one question. Is the High Court compromised according to you? You just made that implication. You just made that imputation that the High Court, on our instructions, gave an anticipatory bail. Is that a statement
Can I
you're making
answer?
about the Honourable Judge?
Okay, Aishwarya, quickly, because I want to go to Rajat and
No, just 10
Sanjay as well.
seconds. You're talking about this anticipatory bail matter. It's not me. It's not the Congress party. Vivek Subba Reddy, who basically heads the Karnataka Lawyers Advocates Association, who was a candidate also for the BJP recently, is the one that sent a letter to the High Court saying, sir, on what grounds are you allowing Madal Virupaksha anticipatory bail while you allow weeks for the common man? Why are you giving him VIP
The Supreme
treatment?
Court has denied
one
case
second, one
Kavita
second.
relief
I
today.
want to
So
go
it's
across
Supreme
to
Court compromise.
Sanjay Jha now. Sanjay, did Rahul get his sentence construction wrong? Because if he spoke of, say, institutional capture, if he spoke of, the government misusing agencies, that's a political charge. He can level that charge. When he says democracy is dead, and then Aishwarya Mahadev thinks that Congress can win in Karnataka, there is a catch-22 situation there, because both of those can't be true. Democracy can't be dead. If the Congress is winning in Shimla, if the Congress thinks it can win in Bengaluru, did he just get his formulation in terms of what he was trying to say wrong, which is especially important when you're in public life?
Ironically, he's absolutely right, and I'll tell you why. This is the new model of dictatorships and democracies, Rahul. Just because you have elections, and even if they are fair, it doesn't mean that what happens between the election cycle for 5 years or 4 years, as the case might be, how are institutions therefore being handled? And you know that. You know how institutions in India have been emasculated. We know how the police and prosecuting agencies are all over the countryside. Look at the Indian Express survey that established that since Mr. Narendra Modi became Prime Minister, you have 95% of the cases against the opposition. I mean, the BJP is that great washing machine, as has become now the popular joke in Indian politics. The bigger question here, the Supreme Court actually has now changed the selection of the election commissioner and the chief election commissioner, because clearly...
But that won't happen if democracy was dead, if the judiciary wasn't doing its job. Just
Well,
recently, they came up with a decision the government didn't like.
Rahul, let me finish.
Yes.
You have the last surviving institution, which is the Supreme Court. And I can tell you, if it wasn't on account of the judicial overreach of the Supreme Court, the executive in this country is dismantling and destroying Indian democracy. Let me make one more point here. The real reason why the BJP has made this into a big story, I'll tell you what the real reason is. The real reason is Gautam Adani issue. It takes on the Prime Minister. Everyone knows the great rapport they had. Everyone knows Mr. Modi flew in his plane to Delhi for his big coronation. And today the popular song that links the two of them is आजकल तेरे मेरे प्यार के चर्चे हर ज़बान पर सबको मालूम है और सबको खबर हो गई. So now the BJP propaganda machine is on overdrive. You can see the number of times you have the BJP spokesperson on your show talking about Rahul Gandhi's statement, and he has not been able to corroborate anything at all.
Okay,
so
Rajat Sethi,
I think that is a whole-scale industrial level.
Counter is that this is just an attempt to turn the attack on its head by by not being defensive on the issue of Adani, instead attacking Rahul Gandhi's comments made abroad. You're trying to ensure that this doesn't become a problem which you need to answer. Therefore, you're getting the likes of Sanjay Jha and Aishwarya Mahadev to do the answering while you do the questioning. This is just classic counter-attack.
Did Narendra Modi book the tickets of Rahul Gandhi to go to Cambridge? This should be a simple question. Why, when the political temperatures were such high in India, why did he choose to spend 10 days in cool London and Cambridge? He could have sweated out here in India on the soils, reached out to people, had his own karyakartas, reached out house to household, and try and convince the Indian electorate. This is an important issue. I also second that. Why is he running away from that responsibility? He should have stuck around. He is the one who, you also acknowledged in your show that was a slip of a tongue or a larger sinister plot, only Rahul Gandhi would know. But what he said was absolutely wrong, and every citizen of this country should be ashamed of what Rahul Gandhi
quick
said.
Final words. Yes, Shehzad.
Look, I want to respond to Sanjay Jha's song. कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना. By the way, he believes an Indian Express survey, but not the elections of this country, which he says are fair. And by the way, forget 95% of the cases. FATF has just documented the art of corruption by the first family. Is that also manipulated by us? I mean, if you do corruption, you will be caught. And if you're caught, you say Loktantra is under khatra because Parivar Tantra of corruption is caught. I mean, I have never heard somebody say elections are fair, but because you're catching my corruption, democracy is dead. This is only a person who's suspended logic and position that can say it, and that is Sanjay Jha. He gets to Bihari accent whenever he loses an argument. That is standard Sanjay for you. Even the Congress doesn't take him seriously anymore.
Okay, Aishwarya is wagging her finger. We're out of time. Aishwarya, I want to give you only 15 seconds. Go for it.
For all the sort of stories that Shehzad has built about all of us today and everything, if the same amount of gumption and energy was expended on actually giving answers to the people on the Adani scam, maybe we would have far more answers for the people on the ground and the MPs that are protesting today. This is basically distractionary tactic 101, where the entire government is going to cover behind, basically hide, because the Adani scam is what is going to capture and take down the BJP.
Do you believe a Supreme Court panel-led probe?
Elaborate stories about the Congress, go ahead.
Do you believe a Supreme Court panel-led probe?
So you've had a back and forth. I don't wish to take a side because, as Yashwant Deshmukh said earlier in the show, Rahul Gandhi has to capture the minds and hearts of Middle India. Those who aren't pro-Congress, that 20%, those who aren't necessarily pro-Hindutva, which used to be 20, now closer to 30 according to recent polls. He needs to capture the space in the middle if the Congress's vote share is to go up and the BJP's vote share is to go down. Does this comment help or hurt? You decide where you stand, because I don't tell you what to think. You've heard from Sanjay Jha, Rajat Sethi, Aishwarya Mahadev, Shehzad Poonawalla. I want to thank our guests for joining us. We'll slip into a break. When we come back, the Adani issue rocks the House yet again, and on the streets as well. Opposition parties try to unite, but don't get together quite completely. We'll have details coming up on the other side of a quick break.
India Today Conclave 2023, March 17th and 18th, New Delhi. Listen to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Justice Dhananjay Y. Chandrachud, Amit Shah, Sachin Tendulkar and Ram Charan. The India Moment.
One way to do up your home or your office is to just keep it simple, to keep it minimalist. The ones known to be masters of minimalism, even in fashion, Abraham and Tagore, stamp just this in the capacity of designers who are now into the design, innovation and home decor space too.
To tell you the truth, we actually launched our business with both the collections. Actually, we started, the focus was with a homeware collection that we launched in London at the Conrad shop many years ago. And we haven't really done it in India. So we are actually relaunching it. It's more of a relaunch for us.
Fashion and home lifestyle is always it's always intertwined together actually. And I think it's a big part of what we do, bringing fashion and home lifestyle together, which brings in the actual play of ceramics into it. And the play of that coming as big bowls and plates, as well as crockery and cutlery.
Minimalism is timeless. Keeping home decor simple involves selecting a few key pieces that complement each other and arranging them in a way that feels cohesive and visually appealing.
Personally, I like minimalism because I think it requires more discipline. Everything has to be simpler, purer, and you can build on it. I mean, maximalism is valid too, but it's just another style, and this is a style that we are comfortable with.
Part of every collection, whether it's fashion or it's the home, always is introduced with a black and white line, which I think is accessible to everybody, all ages.
Keeping it simple can be simplified further. Simply begin by using neutral color palettes, whites, beiges, grays, blacks, what have you. Less is more, so do not clutter. Use decor made of natural and sustainable materials to create a sense of calm and tranquility. Choose pieces that are timeless. In New Delhi with Vaishnavi Kaharwar, Lifestyle Bureau, India Today.
You're on board the Newstrack. From Parliament to the streets, the opposition is up in arms against the Modi government over the Adani issue in an attempt once again to try and demonstrate a united front. The opposition marched today to the office of the Enforcement Directorate, raising the charge of the agency being misused by the Modi government. But the chinks were clearly visible in the opposition's armour, with the TMC and the NCP choosing to stay away.
From Sansad to the streets, the opposition is turning up the heat on the Narendra Modi government over the Adani stock crisis. 18 opposition parties marched from Parliament to the Enforcement Directorate headquarters on Wednesday, but were blocked roughly 200 meters before the destination. The opposition leaders accused the ED of targeting opposition leaders while keep turning a blind eye to the BJP. They handed a letter to the ED demanding investigation into allegations of stock manipulation and financial irregularities levelled against Gautam Adani Group.
How it happened, who is responsible, who is giving the money, how he is allowed to take so much money. There should be an inquiry, and inquiry should be held, and what is the relation between Prime Minister and Adani ji.
ईडी इस मामले में एफआईआर दर्ज करके इन्वेस्टिगेशन शुरू करे। अडानी के खिलाफ कार्रवाई क्यों नहीं हो रही है? मोदी जी इंडिया के प्रधानमंत्री हैं या अडानी के प्रधानमंत्री हैं? ये देश जानना चाहता है।
The political slugfest continued in Parliament, where the opposition demanded a JPC probe into Adani crisis. The BJP, on the other hand, persisted with their demand for an apology from Rahul Gandhi for allegedly seeking foreign interference to restore democracy. Both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha were adjourned for a third day without doing much work.
Rahul Gandhi, instead of coming to Parliament and apologizing for his undemocratic rant against India, today seeks to be absent from Parliament.
While the opposition presented a united front in their march to ED office, the chinks are visible. The TMC, the third largest opposition party, was not part of the exercise. They staged their own protest on the issue of LPG prices. The NCP, a constituent of the UPA, too was missing from the signatories of the complaint to ED. Even Rahul Gandhi, who arrived back in India on Wednesday, skipped the protest march. With Supriya Bharadwaj, Ashwarya Paliwal, Mausami Singh and Ashutosh Mishra in New Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where I wrap up the Newstrack tonight. Remember, this week we're counting down to the 20th year of the India Today Conclave. Friday and Saturday, from the Prime Minister of India, the Home Minister, the External Affairs Minister, international dignitaries, newsmakers, the Chief Justice of India doing his first moderated Q&A. That's going to be a big highlight. I'm really excited, and I hope that you'll be catching a lot of the big sessions this weekend across the India Today network. Prime Minister Modi's always had a special equation with the India Today Conclave. Some of the most memorable interactions, interviews, speeches have been made at the stage of the conclave.
As we mark 20 years of the India Today Conclave, we're very fittingly celebrating it as the India Moment.
The biggest thought platform in the country and the country's biggest political superstar coming together.
Looking forward to hearing Prime Minister Narendra Modi talk about India's G20 presidency.
I'm really intrigued to know what he's going to be wearing, because if there are lessons to be taken on how to power dress in an Indian attire, it comes from Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
It's also a time for my state elections in Karnataka. Looking forward to his vision for the state.
What Prime Minister's plans are to ensure that India remains on top of the world global order.
Hoping to hear from him on what is his vision or the blueprint of New India.
Welcome, Prime Minister.
Vanakkam, Pradhamar Thiru Narendra Modi avargalukku.
Narendra Modi ji, ಆಸೆಯಿಂದ ಕಾಯ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ.
Very warm welcome to our Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
On Saturday, the 18th of March, as the finale speaker of this year's conclave.
What's the real possibility of something like a collapse that happened in at the Silicon Valley Bank itself happening here in India?
Very rare. The entire crisis at SVB started with the losses in its investment book. Because there's a pressure on this mark-to-mark losses because of a 450 basis point hike the Fed rate. Now, if you look at India, the rate hike is like 250 basis point since May last year, which is little over half than what the US did. Second, if you look at the Indian banks, portfolio, they are majorly into credit, not that much into, investment. And that saves them because they earn a lot of interest and the non-interest income, which, in many times also offset the losses if they make any on the, treasury side. Now, even if one look at the GSEC portfolio, there we have, held to maturity, we have held for trading, and we also have, held for sale. Now, most of the portfolio of Indian Bank is, locked in held to maturity, where there is no requirement of, mark-to-mark losses. And finally, even RBI,